so I'm gonna keep time so you guys aren't here like a really long time. Because I hate when readings go over, so I'm gonna try to save you there. So like Valerie mentioned, some of the stories in my collection I presented in a workshop here. I'm actually gonna read the first story I ever workshopped. Half of the class hated it, so this is either a really brilliant decision by me, Melanie probably remembers the story, or it's a really stupid decision by me, but it's the decision I made. Okay, it's called Evenings with Hilda. I stalk hospital corridors. The doctors don't notice an extra person wandering about, and the hospitals are so understaffed that once I was asked to help give CPR to a woman who had lost her breath. I placed my hands on her chest, thumped her lungs like I was told. It was almost unbearable for me until I felt her life completely extinguished from her body and my thirst for her lessened. I told the doctor it was all over. He told me to keep trying, and I mimicked the part of the savior. When he was ready, the doctor gave up too. I stalked the corridors to see the dying, the ones that are moaning to have an end, or whose eyelids quiver in pain and hallucination. They're the best. They'll take any relief at this stage. I made it a point to ask them if they want to die. It's the right thing to do, not for me because I'm guided by no religious code, but for them, because I want them to think they have a choice. And if they say yes, I want to die, I lean over their bedsides and take their lives. I don't do this for a religious code, not in this Christian pungent country with the dead spirits of relatives residing over the land like a deep fog. I would never say this aloud, but because there is no God. Not God in the way that people have envisioned it. For their kind of God could never have created me and left me to roam hospitals and kill people. And so, though I know there's no heaven or eternal reward they are getting, at least they will leave with someone having been merciful to them. Today I come across Ma Ava's room as the priest leaves. I heard the nurses whisper that she has no family, and this is even better, for no one will miss her. The hospital wears a dingy overcoat of gray from dust, disease, dirt. I rarely see them clean. There are sick people in this corridor. They lean over, gasping in wheelchairs, wipe their eyes and groan with snot on cots hastily made, the old sheets tossed aside. I have seen them reuse sheets if there are no signs of blood or vomit. In the front corridor, by the barely manned front desk, people cluster. Babies are slung across their mothers, and there is no end to tears, coughs, and mucus. I edge closer to the door. A doctor swishes past me. His coat is open and slightly grimy, and it fans out as though he is walking into some mysterious wind, and the shrieks and coughs in the background make me think that he is indeed a hero, a soldier emerging from the battlefield, and if you look closely, you might see his battle wounds, the bloodshot eyes of sleeplessness, the bite marks, the tense nerves. He moves past me, and as is so common for me now, barely registers me. When he passes, I duck into Ma Ava's room. I like to look at the medical charts to see what they're dying from, though these are written in code, not of another alphabet or number system, but a system where one disease means another. Not because they want to be deceitful or because they are unsure, but because how does one write AIDS and have that on the official death certificate, especially when it was a TB or the flu or a headache that pushed them over? Her chart says TB. This is the most common, but she has been here for 6 weeks, and they're afraid they'll lose her any day. She is a woman who was once large, big-boned, and insulated with thick, plump fat, but the layers of fat sag and folds around her, and her face is skeletal. She is resting, her breath light puffs, and her closed eyelids purple. I lean next to her and take her hand. She doesn't move. Ma Ava, I whisper, not wanting to startle her, because I only want them to be calm. Their fear can increase my hunger, but if she's calm, I'll be calm. Ma Ava, what would make you happy right now? Her lips lightly smack as though she has finished a good meal. I take that as answer enough. Death, you say? I'll oblige. I sweep back her hair, cradle her chin, and turn her head away from me, exposing the plane of thin, fleshed neck, the jugular pulsing like a distant ticking bomb. Hilda sits in front of the radio when I return home. She doesn't live with me because people would talk, and the constant temptation might be too much for me. She lives next door with her cousin and the cousin's boyfriend, but spends time in my kitchen, cooking food so the smells float out and people think that I eat, and she listens to my radio and likes to sing along into the cooking spoon. We talk about the day, and this is how I keep my sanity. Oh, Rasta music, listen to those beats. She plays the bowls turned upside down on their lips. If you listen close enough, you can feel the beach. I settled down on the sofa, my belly full, and my skin more lustrous than it had been that morning. It was like a meal and an exercise all in one in Ma Ava's room. How was your day? This is how our conversations always begin. Wonderful. I saw a flurry of cyclists down Kings Road. I met a really nice lady from Cape Town. She's working at the embassy, and we went for a coffee. Very cultured day, I say. She turns up the radio and gets up to make tea. The water boils in time to her rocking hips, the jiving music. How was your day, she asks when the tea is made and she and I sit with our mugs. She laps at the heat with her tongue, and I hold the mug close to my throat, resting it on my collarbone, because I discovered long ago that burning liquids against my skin almost feels like the heat I get from being near a dying person. One TB patient today, I say. Man or woman? This is a detail Hilda always likes to know. Woman, I say, middle-aged. Did she cry? Hilda always takes an interest in people's reactions, but I don't like to answer this. Hilda is the only person who knows about me, but there are some things that I still don't like to talk about with her. Well, there was almost a cancer patient, but he passed before I got too close. Lots of family, she asks? Many. Actually, only one, a bitter grown child, but Hilda wants to believe that people are loved. I have lived in the same place as long as Hilda's been alive, 32 years now. Her grandmother used to live next door to me, and when she died, Hilda moved in with her cousin. She was 12 then, but she visited her grandmother every Sunday until her death. They would go to church together and come back for dinner, and I would sit on the other side of the fence that separated our houses and listen to Hilda tell her grandmother stories. Once the grandmother told Hilda that she was sick, and soon the good Lord would come and give her some relief. That evening, I crept into the grandmother's house, and in her sleep, through her dreams, I asked if she wanted to die. She murmured yes, and I bit into her neck, but as I dabbed the blood from the corners of my mouth, I looked up and Hilda was staring at me from the doorway. She had decided to stay the night in case the good Lord took her grandmother then, and I hadn't noticed her slumbering in the sitting room. I had only bitten a healthy child once in my early days. Hilda did not scream or faint at the sight of her grandmother dying, and surprisingly, she didn't look at me in horror. All she said was, "So you do the good Lord's work." And that's how she found out. I've made a conscious effort to never harm her. I sit away from her in the house and have her scrub the dishes with bleach so no scent of her stays behind like an afterthought. I never accept tea from her hands. When she was growing up, I talked to her through the fence, and she used to drape a scarf around her neck. When she first came to my door, not too long after her grandmother's funeral, I staggered backwards and lifted my dirty work shirt up to my nose. It was her lack of fear that finally allowed me to let her in. I masquerade as a landfill worker. This helps to fill my days and give me money. Not that I have much need for it myself, but I sometimes like to surprise Hilda. I learned not to give her things too often, for that wide, teary smile I so cherish will fade with too many offerings. So I make them few and build up the weeks and months until I can see the smile and know that I am the pendulum that knocks that smile into place. There's a specific reason I chose the landfill job. The only reason, in fact, is that all the smells block out the smell of blood. And people stay away from you when you reek of moldy mealy meal, bread crust, throw up, tea bags, rotten tomatoes, soiled clothes, baby shit, cut hairs, dirty tissues, hot sauce, candle ends, empty sardine cans. I do my job half-heartedly because there is so much garbage and my job never seems to end. Children come here too, sometimes with their thin mothers picking through the waste for scraps of clothing. I go through and pick up dead batteries and paint cans and the needles and razors secretly tossed here by the clothing company nearby. Sometimes I am told to burn trash and the chemicals that are hidden in it burn so intensely that the sky turns black and the children's eyes weep. Hilda usually smells of fresh laundry. She washes towels and linens at a foreign embassy and brings the smell of hot soap with her. I like to watch her hands flicker from stove to kettle to table, dry ridges embedded in her palms and knuckles, the skin puckered in little kisses. She isn't ashamed of her work. She leads her stories with her maestro pointer finger and speckles the air with her fingertips. I overheard a funny conversation today at work, she'll say, and she gets the words out, her hands moving like birds in front of her face. You don't say. I close my eyes to better hear her words. I only see Hilda in the context of my home. I have never seen her walk down the street or buy oranges from the old lady who sits under the bridge. I've never watched her smooth back her hair in front of the shop windows, pretending to fix herself up while she admires new shoes and stereos. Sometimes when I walk the streets, I imagine she walks next to me, quickly because her legs are short, her hands hovering near her face as she discusses the inner lives of the people on the street, or the book that she's reading. If I walked with Hilda, I would take her past my route, past the cold hospital doors, around a restaurant in a building shaped like a hat. I would point out to her the young people who have taken to wearing black shirts that scream in red letters, "I am positive," their smiles a bit strained as they pass. We would crouch under the windows of the bakery and inhale the smell of bread, then weave in and out of the roving vehicles in a winding dance back home. That evening, I come back later than usual, but Hilda is there. She is folding paper flowers on a glossy magazine of papers. A small bouquet rests among the clutter of tea things. She does every fold deliberately and crisply and doesn't take her eyes off of her work to look at me. "Bonjour," she says, "how are you?" "Where were you yesterday?" "I've already made tea." She nods her head towards the table. "I don't care about tea, but I want to know." "Believe me, you'll need a cup of tea. It's best if you hear this when you're calm." I take the tea, frustrated, and sit opposite her at the table. I dabble my fingers in the surface of the tea. "Here," she says, "take a flower." She presses a paper flower into my hand. "They are for my cousin's birthday. I'm going to decorate the house to surprise her." She looks off into the other space. "My cousin's always wanted a garden." "Hilda," I say. Yesterday, she begins, "I found out that I'm positive." "Positive?" "Honestly," she says. She puts a flower into my teacup right between my fingers, and the paper soaks up the moisture and shrinks. "I have HIV and it's far along." "How is that possible?" "Are you really asking me that?" she says. "Think about it." "What are you going to do, Hilda?" Now she looks at me. She pushes the flowers off to the side. "We both know the answer to that." "You can't mean that." "But I do." I dunk the flower all the way into the tea. She reaches her hands out towards me but doesn't touch me. That would be too much. And I've always wanted to feel Hilda, but I love her too much to do that to either of us. I once rested my hands in the back of her neck, deep between the shoulder blades, and I had to run from the house and to keep running until it was dark, and when I had gone back, Hilda had left. We never talked about that night. "Listen to me, this is what you have promised to do. Don't you want to help people?" "Well, I can't do this to you, Hilda." She stands up to me, for me. Forgive me for being selfish, but I don't want to come home and not have you here. "What about what I want?" "I'm going to get old and I'm always going to be sick. Look," she points at the fleshy part of her underarm, and there is a deep open sore. "It's starting. I'm going to die, and you never will." Now, this wasn't completely true. I could die, but as long as I keep feeding, I won't die. And this is an important detail she doesn't think about. And it doesn't have to be right now. "Don't you get it?" Her arms flail. "You don't. You can't, because death is not a reality for you." "Not a reality for me? I see death all the time. I touch the dying. So touch me," she says. And I smash the teacup against the wall. She doesn't even flinch. I don't want to. Hilda gets out the close to my face. I can smell her. See the wisps of hair that frizz around her ears, two differently shaped, pointy ears. She breathes on me. "You have always wanted to, and if you don't, you will see me wilt. I will crumble, rotting with this disease. I won't be able to sit here with you. I can't afford medicine, but I'll buy you." No. I don't want any suffering. I just want to die peacefully when I'm still young and pretty and happy, when men still want me. I'm not sure that I can promise her peace. I don't know if all those that I help feel pain, but I like to think they don't. It's late, she says. She leaves me standing there, clenching my fists, biting my lips. The smell of Hilda lingers on, and I'll just